Welcome back from the break. I am Susan Jaroge, and it is time for conversations. In today's conversation, I am so excited because we're talking about am I good at miming? I'm not so good, am I? I'm talking about thinking outside the box. I'll work on that. But I'm super excited to introduce today's guest. He is an incredible author and he's done many other things. And we're going to be discussing creative thinking and how to think out of the box during this pandemic. So let's go and meet him. It is KTN Life and Style, and it is a virtual edition. Now, it is time for our segment, Conversations. And today I am going to be talking to Dr. Wale. And what is he a doctor in? He's not your ordinary doctor. Dr. Wale is an organizational, culture, and leadership consultant. He has mentored people for very many years and owns a consultancy company that can take care of your corporate and individual needs. Super excited. How are you doing, Dr. Wale?
I'm very well, Susan. Thank you for having me.
I'm so
in
excited.
This strange new world.
Yes, this strange new world we are living in, where we just talk through laptops.
I know.
I'm so excited. Thanks for joining us in the conversation today and for coming to KTN Life and Style. Particularly excited because today's conversation, we're going to be talking about creative thinking, which is something that I think we've all been forced to tap into because we're stuck at home. But specifically creative thinking, how to think out of the box and be innovative in our businesses and in our careers, because now everything has changed, right? So before we get started, Dr. Wale, I have to ask you, what does thinking out of the box mean to you, if you were to explain it to somebody?
You know, Susan, I'm very happy during this period, and maybe it's a selfish happiness.
Mm-hmm.
For years, I have shouted, I have written books. Right. I wrote a book called Creative Thinking. I wrote a book called Mental Independence. I wrote a book called Beyond Intelligence. I've written 18 books. And I wrote books telling the world that a day will come where what you have become used to will be disrupted.
Right?
It will change. I have doubted that. Some people thought I was a prophet of doom. Some people thought I was saying my own thing. You know, the good thing now is that everybody is now calling me back and say, hey, what you wrote in those books. In fact, can we have those books now? So it's been a good period. And you say, what is the box? I wrote in I think it was Creative Thinking, I wrote that human beings, we were programmed for logic. So when I say 2, 4, 6, 8, you automatically know where it is going. So we think in what I call a straight line.
Okay.
The favorite expression of that straight line is all things being equal.
Okay.
That's the favorite expression of that line.
Yes.
Or that of straight line thinking.
Yes.
And that's how we have been trained. We have been trained to operate within the confines of logic. So, whenever we are faced with a situation, automatically the brain goes to look for a logical pattern that it can hook onto.
Yes.
That is how we have operated. We make decisions based on precedent. But when you now find yourself in a situation for which there is no precedent, what do? You now have to go outside the box of logic.
Yeah.
Outside box of the pattern of thought that we are accustomed to.
Right.
We now have to go outside there to find solutions. So, and logic is not bad on its own, but it was Albert Einstein said logic will take you from A to B, but imagination will take you everywhere. Now,
I like that. Yeah.
when you go to a hospital, somebody's not feeling well, goes to a hospital, the first thing the doctor tries to do is to establish a pattern by asking certain questions. Where do you feel the pain? So they're trying to establish a logical pattern. Based on that pattern, they can now make come to a conclusive decision, a diagnosis, and make a prescription. Okay? So the prescription is a function, it is a result of the pattern. But when you now have a patient or someone that comes in and what they have said does not fit a particular pattern,
right,
then we bring in an expert. Then we bring in a specialist to come and look at it.
Yeah.
So logic has its place, but logic has its limitations. Unfortunately, most people have been trained to function in a logical environment. And that's why I have said to everybody I've spoken to during this period, that the winners in a post-COVID era are not going to be the most intelligent people. They are not going to be the most educated people. They are going to be people who are going to actually follow what Darwin said, that it's not the most intelligent that survive, it's not the strongest that survive, but the most adaptable. Those are going to be the winners coming out of this situation.
Wow, I love that. That is powerful and strong. Every morning I will be asking myself, so today you're waking up, are you adaptable to the situation? Are you ready to adapt to whatever situation is thrown your way today? And that's a great way to start your morning, especially now. How adaptable have you been, Dr. Wale, having to stay at home and work from home and socially distancing with you and your family? How has it been?
It's been awesome because, again, we saw this coming, but also my personality, this is my study at home. I spend most of my time here. You know, I don't like going out. I don't like all those things. I just love sitting in my house. I have books here. I have, I love my own space.
Right.
So this situation has worked for me.
That is so good. I think you're what people call a homebody. You're very comfortable in the house. You have everything you need there. You're like, there's no need to go outside and do stuff. I have my book. I'm okay.
And do you know, Susan, I've been busier from here because now, I've worked in so many countries.
Right.
All right. I've worked in Asia. I've worked so many countries. In fact, I literally just live in Kenya. A lot of my work is all over.
Right.
So I have had clients calling from everywhere. So I've been so busy, having conversations with clients all over the world during this period. And the beauty of it is a win-win situation. They don't have to send me a plane ticket. They don't have to pay for accommodation. They don't have to do that. And I don't have to leave my family. I am here. I eat my pepper soup every day. Life is good though.
Oh my God, that is so good to hear. I love that spirit. I think it's the best thing for everyone to have. You mentioned your books in your study and how you're just so happy with them. Now you can work in your study, you're good. You have written, I have read somewhere, I believe it's 16 books. And my question is, I want to know what motivates
18
somebody to
books.
write
Yeah,
that many books? There are how many?
18.
18. Oh, wow. So you've written two more since the article that I read. Two more have been written between that article and today.
Secret of Billionaire Within,
Wow.
I, Wale, White Dream of Success, Mental Independence, Creative Thinking, whole lot of them.
Oh my God, that is amazing. So please tell us.
What motivates me to write? I will tell you. The fear of becoming irrelevant and being forgotten.
Oh, I think I have a similar fear,
it.
so I should start writing books.
Let me tell you. You know, people like Shakespeare, Geoffrey Chaucer, all these guys are still relevant. People read them, people quote them. What's the point in dying and then you are forgotten? Hey, I refuse to be forgotten, so I'll keep writing.
I love it. It's like you live in Kenya, but even from talking to you, I cannot mistake that you are truly Nigerian. It's like deep inside.
Yes, sir.
That is such a good thing. Shout out to any Nigerians that might be watching. Hey. So when we talk about thinking outside the box and creative thinking, and you've written all these books, I do have to ask, because a lot of people are conflicted right now and they're having a hard time working from home. Do you think human beings are natural creative thinkers, or is there something we have to build within ourselves?
We are creatures of habit, and a lot of our behavioral patterns have been conditioned by certain factors. We've actually been programmed to behave the way we do. And anybody can be creative given the right conditions, given the right, for instance, have you ever thought of it that you won't ever know how fast you can run unless you are being chased by a dog or by a wild animal? Then you will discover how fast you can run. Now, a lot of people think they are not creative. The reason they think they are not creative is because they are comfortable. And one of the things I've tried to tell people, even before this years ago, is that you need to learn how to induce some discomfort to trigger your creativity. But a lot of people have been so comfortable and they relax and settle in that box of comfort.
I want you to say that again. I want you to say that again because it was so powerful. You said we have to put ourselves in what situation?
Which one now? Oh, we have to learn how to induce discomfort so that we can trigger creativity. But that is not even relevant anymore because Corona has brought the discomfort. So what we need to do now is this. Let me tell you what's going to happen. A lot of organizations that went into period that pre-Corona, they were champions. Some of them will become irrelevant in a post-Corona world. Okay? Why? Because the biggest legacy of COVID-19 is that it's going to change, or it is already changing, the habits and behavioral patterns of people. Now, so it's changing our behavioral patterns is changing, our habits. Now, corporate strategy is often built around the known behavioral patterns of people.
Oh.
So that means if your strategy is built around how people used to behave before COVID-19, by the time we come out and you saw this as a holiday and did not retrain and repurpose a lot of stuff, you will suddenly find out that you are dealing with a strategy that is no more relevant. There is a book I want to share. It's called The Team of Teams, okay, by General Stanley McChrystal, who was the commanding officer in charge of the special task force against Al Qaeda in Iraq. Now, listen to what he says. He says, the task force, he says, we were the finest special operations force in the world. We were the best of the best, but it was not doing us any good. You know why? They were defeated constantly by Al Qaeda in Iraq. This is the confession of the general that was the commander. You know what? He said, we have been trained so well, but where did we fail? He said, now this is the part that gets you. He says, now it says, on paper, the confrontation between Al Qaeda and our task force should have been no contest. We had a large, well-trained, superbly equipped force. Al Qaeda in Iraq had to recruit locals and smuggle in foreign fighters. So we had sophisticated equipment, they had none. We had communication equipment, they had none. Why did they win?
Yeah.
There. He said, because we were trained for a battle that no longer existed. Al Qaeda won because the task force was trained in conventional warfare.
Right.
But the kind of warfare they were trained for no longer existed. So they lost.
Right.
Now, in the battle between a lion and a shark, the terrain will always determine the outcome.
Of course.
So, if the lion gets a shark on dry land, the shark becomes a victim, not because it is weak, but because it's in the wrong terrain. If the shark gets the lion in water, the lion becomes a victim, not because it is weak. It is in the wrong terrain. My message to corporates right now and to SMEs, to everybody, the terrain has changed. The kind of customer you were trained for does not exist after this, because this situation has so remodeled our behavior, our habits, and our expectations. So it's different. We need to take the mindset. This is by Lee Kuan Yew, the founding father of Singapore, from third world to first. Listen to what he said. You know, he said here, he said, there are books to teach you how to build a house, how to repair engine, how to write a book, but I have not seen a book on how to build a nation.
Wow.
He now said the things he had to do. I had many pressing concerns. First, to get international recognition for Singapore, for Singapore's independence, including membership of the United Nations. My next concern, we had no army. I had to build an army. Then my third concern was the economy. How do I make a living for our people? Now, do you know where he succeeded that I think a lot of us fail? he said something powerful here. He said, we had to create a new kind of economy, try new methods and schemes never tried before anywhere else in the world, because there was no other country like Singapore. So you know what? He was not thinking within the box of logic or precedent or what had been done before.
Right.
He was stepping out of that box and said, let us think creatively, because we are in a totally new terrain. And that, I think, is the biggest challenge, because you're not going to win because you're intelligent. You're not going to win because you have, you know, some past history of winning.
That you are, yeah.
When you look at, let me use Nigeria as a case study. You know, Nigeria is a good case study because it's the one country I can talk about and I won't get into trouble. Nigeria,
yeah,
we have 36 states.
Okay.
And then we have the Federal Capital Territory. So you have 37 entities. Now, I was looking at all the resources available in each state. Now, do you know every one of those states, including the Capital Territory, have vast natural resources?
Yeah.
From gold, bauxite, from every one of those states could be a wealthy country on its own.
Right.
Now, let's look at the natural resources of Singapore. There are two: water and people. Then Nigeria has a GDP per capita of $2,000. Singapore has GDP per capita of $64,000.
Massive difference.
So you know what? That is the difference between the growth mindset and the fixed mindset. Creative thinking happens when you embrace a growth mindset. A fixed mindset says, this is how we are, this is how we have always done it, and so we are going to continue doing it that way. That's what the fixed mindset does. But the growth mindset says, we are not going to judge this situation based on the past. We are going to give this new situation a fair opportunity, a fair hearing. So we will approach it from the basis of a growth mindset. We are not denying the existence of the realities. COVID-19 is real.
Yeah.
Businesses are affected. Businesses are slowing down. Things are bad for a lot of people.
Yeah.
We are not denying the reality.
Yeah.
But we're saying there is another level of thinking, a growth mindset that says, while we do not deny the reality, we refuse to allow the reality to limit us. That is now where creative thinking comes in.
All right, Dr. Wale, I love it, and it's true. And like you said, adaptability is one, yes, but I like the description and the emphasis on putting yourself in an uncomfortable position, because it's only when you are between a rock and a hard place that you find that creative solution. Sometimes you have to force it out of yourself. Speaking of that, I like the example that you used of Singapore and Nigeria. Globally, we have seen very high numbers now being calculated from various labor organizations that are showing us that the unemployment rate in every country, of course, will go up. There are a lot of people who are not being able to retain their jobs. There are a lot of business owners who are not able to retain their employees. But now when we think of creative thinking, how would you advise somebody who is planning on joining the world, or somebody who is recently unemployed, how would you advise them to make themselves more attractive to future employers post-COVID?
All right, excellent. You see, this is an opportunity to develop ourselves. Somebody sent me something the other day that universities, even Harvard, a lot of universities, are offering courses for free online.
Yeah.
You can, so in terms of developing yourself, this is the time to begin to invest in yourself more than anything. It's not a holiday. This is not the time to watch everything on Netflix till there's nothing to watch again. It is not a holiday. This is the time to develop yourself strategically. And let me tell you something. Nobody has any experience in a post-COVID world. Nobody does.
Nobody.
So that means there's an advantage. There's an advantage now for anybody who will develop themselves, build themselves, in a time like this. Like I said to the business people, your expectation has to be different because the world you are trained for it's gone. So everybody has to be in a retraining mode right now. I think that is the best advice I can give anybody. Be in a retraining mode. Now you may ask, oh, what should I train myself in? Even if you just start by training yourself how to think differently, it's a good place to start. Because when there is a race and you say on your marks, get set, everybody is waiting for that gun. Everybody should be in the mode of get set right now. Because when that gun goes off and say go, there is going to be a scramble for any opportunity there is. And that's why you cannot afford to be mediocre in your thinking. No. Because the world is going to be more competitive after this.
That's very true.
New champions are going to emerge. Old champions are going to fizzle away.
Yeah.
You have an opportunity to reposition yourself.
I like that.
And we run, apart from all those, we run a lot of free programs, in the evenings. We call it Street University on Zoom, absolutely free of charge. Just helping people to think differently,
I like that. Everybody should be on the get ready mode right now. It's very important. So for you, have you faced any particular challenge when it comes to working during the social distancing time that you hadn't foreseen yourself, and how have you dealt with it?
There will always be challenges, but the impact of a challenge on our lives will largely be determined by the capacity we have built internally. Challenges come to everybody.
Yes.
But the level of capacity you have built internally will determine the impact of the challenge. You see, there are two words in the English language, the word react and the word respond. Now, when somebody is not feeling well and you say, oh, so and so is responding to treatment, that's a good thing. It's positive.
Yeah.
But if they say so and so is reacting to treatment, then we have a problem.
True.
So what's the difference? Now, imagine somebody wants to work with the fire brigade in Nairobi, and they have gone for a lot of training and preparation to be able to work for the fire brigade. Finally, they get the job. They are brought into the fire brigade, taken to a lot of training, then you start work. Do you know that from day one, that fella is going to be looking forward to a fire? He is going to look forward to his first fire.
Yeah, super
Why?
excited.
Because he's been prepared for it. He's been trained for it. And that's why such services are called rapid response, not rapid react. You see, when you prepare and you respond, what does that do? That means you are in control. But any situation that makes you react at will is in control.
Yeah.
Okay. I remember there was a client I had once, and they were having problems. They had a lot of shops, and they were having problems with their shops, probably because people are complaining about the customer service and all that. Okay. But these guys were stressed. The people working in the shops were frustrated. They were stressed, and I told them, give me the worst case scenario you've experienced. So they talked about a particular shop where someone came in, didn't speak any language they understood. Okay. So there was no communication. They were getting agitated. Tempers were rising. It did not end well. So we said, all right, you know what? We gave that guy a name. Let's assume we call him Wale, okay?
Yeah.
Now, so that terrible customer, we give him a name. So I told guys, what happened was when this guy came, you were reacting to him. You were reacting. So what we need to do, how about if you expect him to come every day? So we began to prepare them. We said, expect this bad guy to come every single day. Now, you know what happened? They were ready. Is he likely to come every day? No. But you know what? The day he did show up, there was a change in their emotions. They were actually excited that he showed up. So they were calling themselves that he's here, he's here. And they were able to manage it. That's the difference between reacting and responding. And so how I deal with life is I try to prepare, develop myself, build capacity. So when situations like this happen, they are not in control of my life.
Yes.
They are not forcing me. I am responding to them. In essence, I never give up my position of power.
I like that. Unfortunately, it is time. But before we finish, I would like for you to share your social media handles, where people can find that free university service you talked about. But I would also like you to give a final word, especially to the youth, but to African youth who are feeling stuck and confused at this time. They need to be prepared for the post-COVID world.
All right. My social media on Facebook, it's Wale Akinyemi resource page on Facebook. You have resources there from leadership to marriage to everything, right there. And then on Twitter, it's at Wale Akinyemi. Now, on Instagram, it's real Wale Akinyemi. But I tell you what, and anytime we have any of these Zoom webinars and all that, we will have the links on all social media platforms so you can join. It's free. You will get to learn from geniuses from around the world. Listen to this. There's such an opportunity right now. I saw from history that a lot of the greatest fortunes were developed during downtimes. For instance, during the Great Depression, where 23,000 people committed suicide in 1 year, that was the same period when Walt Disney was founded. It was the same period when Duracell batteries were started. It was the same period when Sheraton Hotel was started. It was the same time when Hewlett Packard was started. And the best of all, it was the same time when KFC was started by Colonel Sanders.
The most important one.
During the downtime.
Nice.
Absolutely the most important. So the point I'm making is this, Susan, is that we need to look inwards. Like I said, we can learn anything right now. Let's learn all we can learn right now. I think that's the most important thing. Now, somebody will ask me and say, but how am I going to eat during this period? And I can give you examples of young people that I have met. Some of them I have mentored. The world does not pay you because you are there. The world pays you because you are adding value. And the amount of value you add to yourself will determine the value you will command outside. So, what I'm saying is, if you are adding value to yourself, then sit down and think, where can this value, who will pay for the value that I have? If you are not able to answer that question, you will be on the same spot for a long time. Evaluate the value you can bring to any table. Then ask, who will pay for this value? When you've done that, then begin to reach out to who will pay for your value.
Ooh, I like that.
I hope that helped.
I really hope it helps. Oh, it helps me. I'm thinking of some people who can pay for my value right now. Dr. Wale, it has been incredible. Thank you so, so much. A big hello to you and your family. Say hello to them when you leave your study after work. Keep staying safe. Thank you so much for tuning in to KTN Life Style and giving us the opportunity for this interview. Goodbye.
Thank you and goodbye.
And that was Dr. Wale. He is Nigerian born, of course, but he lives here in Kenya. And he has given us so many amazing, amazing words of advice. I actually want to go over some of the things that he said about coping and thinking creatively during this time that we're in, during this pandemic. I like what he said about reaction versus response. I think for me, that was the big thing that hit home. If you are not prepared for something and when you're not in control, you react. However, if you are prepared, then it won't be happening to you and you will be ready and then you will respond. I am Susan Njoroge. It is time for music now from Jamal Gaddafi and fun TikTok videos. Keep it here on KTN Life Style. Follow our social media pages at KTN Home and follow me on Instagram under Surah Comment, Facebook Surah Comment, and Twitter SNJoroge_, or if you type in Surah Comment, you will find me. Have a great morning, guys. Let's go dance with Jamal.